Hey everybody, Ryan here with Ray's Latest, and today I would like to talk about my kind of biggest concerns with Carson Williams and kind of the newest updates on the stadium. DeSantis had a press conference yesterday, as well as some other city council members also kind of stepped out and talked about what's been going on with negotiations and kind of what's been in place and their thoughts on it. But first, I want to talk about Carson Williams. Obviously, he had his first kind of big chance at being in the big league roster last season. He only played in 32 games where he hit 5 homers and had 12 RBIs, which for a rookie it's not that's not bad really at all. But the thing that's really concerning to me, and it's kind of always been an issue with him, is his whiff and strikeout ratio. His percentages on those are just absurd, and he's been regarded as a top prospect in the Rays system for years now. I feel ever since Franco kind of graduated out of our prospect pool, and he hit 172 last year with 354 OPS, or 354 slugging rather, and a 219 on base percentage, which is just, that's, if you're going to hit 172 and your on base percentage is only 219, you got to, if you're going to be that low on the batting average spectrum of things, you got to find a way to get on base better. And his strikeout rate in the minor leagues was 34% to start off with, which is already not that good of a number. It just upgraded to 42% when he got to the big leagues, which is when you're striking out almost half the times that you're up to bat. Granted, it was a small sample size and only 32 games, but percentages for things like this usually aren't skewed heavily like that. And other than you get a stretch of games where you're facing Max Scherzer, Prime Verlander, and people and pitchers like that at back to back days when you're going through it at the plate kind of things. But when you play 32 games, it's especially when you're playing at a minor league ballpark as well for the majority of those games, it's concerning to see that those numbers kind of went up 8%. And it is, like I said, it is a small sample size, but with the sample size we saw, the numbers did go up. Granted, you are facing better pitching in the big leagues rather than in AAA. So it's not one of those things where it's crazy to think that your strikeout numbers will go up. But if your strikeout rate's already at 34%, and then you bring it up another 8% to 42 when you're getting close to that 50% mark, that's really concerning. And granted, he does do things very well. He can run, he can hit for power, he can defend well, but it's just the contact and the consistency at the plate is what's really concerning to me. And I think that it's going to be a fairly big issue kind of going into this season, because we already have a problem at shortstop with Taylor Walls being a consistent bat for us with plus defense that kind of keeps him on the roster and keeps him at an elite level from a defensive standpoint. But if you just add another one of those players directly into the role with him, there's nothing you're really gaining from it. Because from a defensive standpoint, Taylor Walls hasn't beat. And if you can't hit better than Taylor Walls, then there's no need for you to be on the roster, in my opinion. And I think that if he can't kind of get things into play, and if he even hits 250 and he plays almost every day, he hits 250 and kind of keeps his same home run rating up, he would hit about 25 homers. And I wouldn't hate that if you're hitting 250 with the defensive ability and the athleticism that you have. So that's my biggest concern for him. And I think that going into this season, 2026, we're going to kind of see him thrown more into the fire, in my opinion, and kind of with this season kind of not. We're not planning on this season to be a World Series roster, in my opinion. And I think people kind of know that. So I think there's going to be more chances for players like Williams and Melton and kind of getting some of those players that necessarily wouldn't play every single day more opportunities to kind of prove themselves and show what they can do at the big league level. So that's my biggest concern with him, is seeing kind of how he can control and kind of get the strikeout rate under. And I'm sure he's been working on it all off season, obviously. But I think from just an outside looking in perspective, that's my major concern with him. And I think that I think he's going to be able to fix some of it, but I think it's going to be a major question mark for him heading into this 2026 season. But the next thing I want to talk about is the new stadium updates that we've gotten. I know we've been getting updates pretty much every single day for the last week and a half, I feel like. But DeSantis kind of weighed in on it in a press conference yesterday. He said, I've toured the campus. Some of these buildings are old. In this day and age, you've got some other stuff around it, so you know there's a vision. So this is kind of what I've been seeing on is more as the Rays ownership was kind of smart when they decided to put this with Hillsborough Community College. They're kind of using the college as a hedge to be like, hey, look, we want to build this huge stadium. We want to build it here. We want to implement the college. We want to implement all these other things. And they're using the college as kind of a, hey, like this is a public university. This is funded by the state. We're going to be doing this to help them out. We're going to be doing this to make the college a better place for the state of Florida. And I think it's a genius move with allowing the lawmakers and allowing the state officials to kind of see that they're trying to use this as somewhere to improve state infrastructure and improve state education to kind of get a little more backing on the state funding route. And I think it's a genius move. And I never really thought of it before until I kind of saw an article on it and why that is. And it makes a ton of sense. And it's something that I think that DeSantis, him coming out and saying later on in this interview, he says, I can't confirm anything until something's public, but I'm a believer that baseball can succeed in Tampa Bay. So he says that to kind of close out his argument, or not argument, but press conference. And he says that negotiations have been well underway with the state, but he can't say anything. So, but he is a believer that baseball can succeed in Tampa Bay. So it's one of those things where you see the governor kind of say this. He's already said no to state funding, but I think that kind of the more intrigue on getting the campus up to what it is, and him saying, "Yeah, these buildings are old. This stadium, the campus could use a little bit of an upgrade." It's it's interesting because I think that he's kind of seeing this as something that's going to provide students things to do, places to go, places to work at. And I think it's great. And I think that kind of leading towards the end of this 180 days that the Rays have to kind of strike this deal, I think that's going to be the big stepping point on getting the public funding. And a lot of the stadiums in renovations in the past couple of years obviously have been through the public private funding. You get the public from the state, taxpayers, you get private funding as well. And the only other one that wasn't was Gillette Stadium getting a renovation for 250 million past couple seasons. Robert Kraft just paid for all of that. He just said, here you go. The ownership group paid for all of it. So I think kind of leaning towards something like that with where you get public and private funding is going to be the only way that you're going to be able to get this done. And I think using the campus as kind of that, hey, we're trying to help the state education out as well with this, is going to kind of lead more into that public funding sector and trying to get a little bit more public funding. But you guys let me know what you guys think about this, especially what you guys think about Carson Williams, and you guys have a great one.